Something, I like to share it, especially if I think it can help others. And I think there are some of you watching who may want a break from the US, okay, who are feeling stressed from the year 2025. Let me know in the chat, in the live chat, if you're here, but also replay folks. Let me know. Like, I really want it to be a communication, okay? So let me know how this year has been treating you. um, I remember a lot of the times when I ask, I get the people who respond are like, "Yeah, I'm fine. I just don't pay attention to that." And it just doesn't feel like the majority of people's um feeling. It feels like it's a bit of a like almost a disassociation from what might actually be happening. So let me know, how are you feeling in terms of just the political stress, economic pressures? Um, so yeah, I want to share. And I like 50 as the sort of the cutoff, but you could be 30 and feel like you're too old to start over. So I'm just going to tell my story because not all of you watch all of my videos. Some of you are going to drop in on this. You've never seen me before. Others may have been following for 1 year. Others may have been following for like 6 years. So I am over 50. Sometimes I say my actual age, and sometimes I don't. Um, and I am a certified yoga teacher, massage therapist. I've done many different things. For some years, I was an art professor, and that was kind of like my most serious profession, I would say, in terms of sort of standard profession, go in, do your job kind of thing, as opposed to self-employment. Um, I am now retired. Well, right away. Well, I could say early retired. We're relatively. I mean, I know some people wait till they're like 70 to retire or 65, but whatever. I don't think the age really matters as much as I think a lot of women, and especially Black women, and especially if you feel maybe you are, I want to say, on a budget or sort of working class to middle class. And here I'm not talking about women who had big corporate careers. I'm not talking about them specifically because I think if you're in that, if you were a lawyer or this like, high-powered professional, I feel like you have the wherewithal, you have the resources to do what you want to do in terms of retirement or moving abroad. So I'm talking here to people who may feel like, they can't restart their life or make a big change. And I just want to encourage you that you can. So my story is that I did just pack up, um, just about a month ago now, all of my stuff. And so what did that involve? All that packing up. It was extremely, it was a little bit, no, I don't want to say traumatic. It was because I wanted to do it. But packing up your whole life and whittling it down. So if you want a new start, you often have to let go of, old stuff. So I know I'm not alone. Most of us have this, unless you have a parent, unless you're young watching my channel, 20s, maybe early 30s, you may still have your stuff at your parents' house. Okay, but obviously at my age, my I have all my stuff. And if you, like me, didn't own a house, you're in an apartment, you can build up a lot of stuff. And of course, in a house, you build up a lot of stuff. So all I'm saying is when you want a fresh start, there is this process of like letting stuff go, right? It's a lot. I've mentioned in other videos, getting rid of books was the hardest thing because I had a lot of books. I am a reader. I like to read nonfiction. So if you're like me, you had like a big library. And in fact, I was getting books that I knew I wouldn't read right away, but I wanted to have them as like a library, right? Not just like, oh, I read a book and I put it away, but books I will read. So again, let me know if any of you are like that. Okay. And so I ended up getting rid of a lot of those books. It was very hard. Facebook Marketplace, things didn't, I literally bundled them. I sold like 15 books at a time. So it would be a set of books about yoga, books about this type of meditation, books about this type of health. So, and it was hard to sell them. So just so you know, any of you who want a new start, and specifically I'm talking about maybe moving to a new area or abroad, you have to let go of stuff, and that can be very hard. Give yourself more time than you think it will take, because somebody else said this and I laughed out loud when they said it. People don't want your stuff. The people who you think are going to want your stuff, they're going to come, if they come, and they'll look through and they'll be like, no, I don't want that. And they may take a couple of things. Okay. So getting rid of things is the first hard thing. Okay. When you want a fresh start. And I specifically am talking about, like I said, a move to a new place. And I want to tell you guys two ways that, again, if you are on a budget, you're a working person. This is not good for somebody who's in an emergency state, but you work, but you haven't amassed a lot of money necessarily. Like I said, you maybe didn't have a big corporate career, or I know many teachers actually are able to, save up well. So I could include them as well. If you want to start over and if you are thinking of moving abroad, wherever it is, whether you want to move to Africa, Europe, Asia, South America, Central America, South America, um, to retire or to get a break, then keep listening to this video, because that's basically what I am doing. I am doing what's called slow travel. Okay. Now, I hadn't heard of that, so I shouldn't presume you have. I'm a nerd, like I said, as an ex-professor, I'm a nerd. When I get interested in something, I dive deep into it, I read about it, I research it, and I really become like a geek, just spilling out information, about it. But I hadn't really heard of slow travel, I would say, for only about a year ago, maybe more than a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago. So what is slow travel? Because I don't, again, especially in the Black community, I don't know that you may have heard of it. And also, you may wonder, those of you who follow my channel more regularly are like, okay, so she has a lot of money because she said she's traveling. How is she doing that? So again, I want to break down to you, if you feel you want a fresh start, you maybe want to um, be out of the US for some time, get a little break, get a mental break, mental health break, because you don't want to have a mental health break, okay? Um, you have a toxic job, you're tired, maybe you've got diagnosed with something. There are ways to take a break of several months out of the US in a lower cost country, okay? So I did make a masterclass about this, and I have that link below if you want to find out. But I'm going to share with you right now how I'm doing it. So again, if you're on a budget and you want a little break, um, slow travel. So the reason I also always thought I couldn't travel, even with some savings, even when I really wanted to, is because when I look at travel, travel looks very expensive. And that's why I want to talk about it. Because even when I watch people, I'm still like, yeah, that's expensive. It's like, no, depends how you do it. So travel seems expensive because typically people are on vacation, so not air quotes, they really are on vacation. And when you're on vacation, what do you do? Okay. I want to break this down because it's important for you to change your mindset about being able to take a longer term vacation or sabbatical abroad. So a vacation is expensive because typically you go for a week or two and you stay at a hotel. Hotels are expensive. That's absolutely true. Hotels, when I look at booking.com and I'm like, who pays that per night? I could not pay that per night, right? So a vacation is, you typically stay in a hotel, you stay for a short period of time, the cost is very high. You go and you do expensive things. You go and you do tours, and you do a lot of sightseeing and a lot of like dining out. So slow travel is not that, okay? Hear me again. So slow travel is not that. If you have worked most of your life, you probably could afford to take a sabbatical or a break that is, just call it slow travel. So what is slow travel specifically? I've said to you what a vacation typically is, right? A vacation is typically high cost. You've got the airfare, right? You've got the housing, which is expensive. You've got usually fine dining because you really like splurging. So a vacation often is a splurge. Slow travel is not that. I want to almost call it slow living abroad, slow being abroad. Okay. So again, if you're over 50 and on a budget or younger, you can do this as long as you have some savings or you are retired. So slow travel typically means, in my definition, is you stay in a place for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I define it as stay about a month. And I'm going to give you why. I'm going to give away what's inside my masterclass just so you understand the concept. Again, this is for those of you, if you're like me, where you were getting very stressed in the US at this time and you wanted to take a month, 2 months, 3 months and just rest, recalibrate, and you have some savings, okay? But I'm going to talk more about it. So, slow travel, stay a month. Here's why a month is the key tipping point. Okay, and many slow travelers don't say that as I'm thinking about them. I watch all different sorts of channels. I watch all different sorts of people, single people, young people, white couples, older, wealthier couples, black couples, retired. I watch all different people. They often don't say this. Go for a month, and right there, you're going to trigger something. When you do Airbnb, which is what most slow travelers are doing, or they're doing just short-term rentals, maybe in a different company, when you stay for 28 days or longer, and again, I did not know this, right? So I look at Airbnb and I'm like, 201 a night? That's ridiculous. I mean, I can't do that. When you book for 28 days or longer, you typically trigger a huge discount. And here is why. Okay, so this is the big key to being able to do this travel. When you're staying in somebody's nice Airbnb rental for a month, you're saving them all these, like having to come in and clean like 5 times in that month, having to deal with all the different people coming in. So they give you a very steep discount. Maybe an apartment that would have cost 1,600 for the month, like the daily rate, right? If you did it for the whole 30 days, if you just did the math, it might be $2,000 or it might be 1,500. I see many in that range of an Airbnb, a place to stay. Again, stay with me. And you're like, that's too expensive. I can't do that, Viv. What you can do once you book the 28 days, excuse me, that was not me, that was my friend. Once you book the 28 days, you get the steep discount where it might drop to 800. So again, stay with me on this. If you live in the United States or Canada, a westernized country, right? $700. If you can get a month stay down to $700, but think about what that includes. I say it because my rent was actually 700. So, but I was blessed. I have really good luck with finding cheap rentals, like long term. But you find an Airbnb, you book for a month, and it's $700. That $700 isn't just rent. You're getting heating, typically you're getting heating, cooling, the ambiance of the place, right? If it needs heating, the heating's included, typically. Um, if it includes air conditioning, again, typically the air conditioning is included. You're getting the electricity, the lights, everything, right? So you arrive at a place, it's ready to live in, and that 700, that's it, right? So that's what I'm saying to you. Think about if you are US or Canadian, could you find that? And is it in an interesting place? So in an Airbnb, maybe you pick, and that's my next tip, you pick a town, like a second tier town. You don't go to Paris. Maybe you go to Lyon or you go to some, a third tier city in France. Wonderful, average city, people living there, and you find a rental for $700 or $800. Think about what that means. You could go. So yes, you had to pay the airfare, but again, you're getting now, so airfare, That's going to stay the same. And of course, there are ways you could get cheap airfare. But again, if you need a break from the United States, you're tired, you want a little sabbatical, you want a vacation, slow travel it. So book for the 28 days. It's actually going to be cheaper than what you might pay at home. You've got utilities covered, and then what you have to cover is food and any transportation and any sightseeing you want to do. But let's talk about that. Hey, if you're just joining, I'm talking about if you're over 50, maybe you're moving into retirement age and you want a break from the stress of the United States right now. You want a vacation, you want a sabbatical, you want a scouting trip, or, and check this, you want to save money. Again, I know it sounds counterintuitive because what I'm saying is, oh, you can travel and save money. Some of you, some of you watching this may pay 2000 for rent. I don't know. Some of you live in DC, some of you live in New York City, and your rent is really high. I've just told you, and if this weren't alive, I could pull up and show you on Airbnb right now in countries like France or Spain as a tourist, right? As an American tourist, you can find an Airbnb for like $800 for a month. So all the utilities included, you've paid airfare, but now you have a place to stay and chill out for a month. You have beautiful churches to go see and museums and sites and ruins or whatever, performances. Maybe there's a jazz festival. Um, you know, there's all different things that you haven't seen, and you're in a new place and you're just living your life. So give me questions. Let me know if this resonates for you. Again, I'm saying if you want to start over and you want a little jump start maybe to your life, maybe it's just you want something exciting and different to do. So rather than stay in Brooklyn where you are, your lease is ending and you're like, I'm going to travel for 3 months and just chill and get my mind together, right? I lived in Brooklyn, that's why I chose Brooklyn. Or you're in Philly, your lease is up, or you sublet your apartment, guys. Again, think out of the box. Sublet your apartment. Your apartment is taken care of for the summer coming up, for summer 2026, right? And you do this Airbnb strategy, okay? And you combine it, the second strategy you combine that's going to save you even more money, right? Because the Airbnb you're paying for, but again, my position is that for many of you, that Airbnb in a foreign country is going to be cheaper than all the costs you pay for your apartment or your housing in the United States. So, and you get your stress level down. You don't live there, you're not involved in their politics, you don't, maybe you're in France, you don't know what they're saying. You're in Spain, you're like, I don't know, their elections are coming up. I don't care, right? You're in Portugal and you're like, oh, I don't know, they're excited about this guy, whatever. I don't care. I just want to have another, you're having chicken and some salad and some wine and you're happy. Okay. So the other thing that you can use besides this very judicious and careful use of Airbnb, which again, check out my masterclass that I made. It's pre-recorded, an hour worth of video chopped up into bits, and then worksheets and all that. It's on pre-sale right now. It's literally $21. So, I mean, it's really, really cheap. The other thing that you combine it with is house sitting. So, what is house sitting? Again, more and more, Stephanie Perry has really brought this, especially to Black women. Now, I always have to say, I knew and I had house sat before she came on the scene at all, because I had to think out of the box. Because when I was teaching, I think I first did it when I was a professor and I just was like, I'm leaving teaching. So I quit my job. I quit my professor job, and I was diagnosed with PTSD, and I was like, okay, I'm getting out. And I don't know how I heard about house sitting. This was literally like pre-internet. It was like very, very early internet. Somehow I heard about it, and I think they even had like a newsletter that had like house sitting. And I ended up taking care of a house, you guys, for a woman in Western Massachusetts. it's a magical story. If I told you, you'd just be like, that I don't even understand how that happened. So I didn't even use this booklet I'm talking about because I think that was later. I Again, you've got to think out of the box, and that's what I'm really good at. But so I first did house sitting way, way long ago. And then, now more recently, like I said, check out Stephanie Perry's channel. She's got a free house sitting toolkit that is very good. Um, so house sitting just means you take care of somebody's home when they're away, and that's not even the way to put it. You're not doing repairs, okay? So I know some of you are like, no, I'm not doing that. No, no, no. All you're doing is you might literally take care of a cat. Someone has gone to Spain. She's going home to the Caribbean, and she has a cat. Now, you don't want to board a cat for that long, right? Many people don't want to board their animal. You stay in their home. So this is not paid. You stay in their home and you take care of, it could even be fish. They literally might have fish or chickens. I've never taken care of chickens, but some people have chickens. So you got to sprinkle out some seeds for the chickens. You got to throw some hay or whatever. Like I said, I've never taken care of chickens. And so house sitting is a way that many, many retirees travel around the world. Okay. So give me your questions. Let me know that you're with me. I can see your numbers, but again, I know in the live you may just be with me because you are cooking and you know my channel, right? But I want to talk to people who, if you have any questions about this, because what I'm saying is, I was saying this to a man in my audience, a longtime member of my audience, even though I talk about women's spirituality, but and people drop in, all different sorts of people drop in, or they want to hear and they're interested. And they were saying, oh, I think I'd be, scared to do that, to like just travel around. Um, like I said, you can sublet your place, but there are many, because this isn't the main focus of my channel, there are many channels talking about Black sit right now, about Black people immigrating abroad for cheaper housing, for a calmer life, whether that's to Vietnam, whether that's to Thailand, um, whether that's to Ecuador, who's having some problems right now in some places. So don't tell me because I already know. Or whether that's Panama, right? A lot of Black people have Panamanian heritage anyway, right? Um, so I'm just saying these are the ways that you can restart your life, combining really judicious and careful and smart use of Airbnbs, actually pay less money than you're paying in America. That's what I think many of you are missing. Yeah, and you're in a new country, you get a new environment. You're sort of like on a vacation, but you're kind of also resting because there's nobody kind of telling you what to do and you're out of your environment. And so you can combine the house sitting. Now, I have a link. I use Trusted House Sitters. I did not actually have it pull up, but they're a really good company. Let me see. Let me see if I can. I'll put it up after the video, after I stop the video. But many, many retired people do this. And so you're taking care of a cat or you're walking a dog, and feeding the dog. Maybe you'd feed, you've had a dog. It's not, backbreaking work. So you combine the Airbnb careful choice, slow travel with house sitting, right? And you're able to maybe be abroad for 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months. Okay. So do you have questions? I'm going to pause here. I'm not using my fancy software, so I don't have the ability to I don't think I can. I can see your questions. So in the chat, okay, let me know if you have any questions about this. Again, this is if you feel like you want a break. You want either you're going to be retired, you want to scout a new country, and you literally want to save money. So these two methods can actually save you money. As I said, if you live like in DC or California or some of these big American cities, you can actually save money by house sitting and even using paid Airbnbs and save a couple hundred a month and have more money to do what you want and need to do. Okay? So put your questions in the chat. I'm going to step away for one moment. All right. Okay. Because I care about stress and how to mitigate stress holistically. And that's why I really wanted to share with you and tell you to think out of the box in 2026. Age does not have to be a negative factor. If you want to maybe travel for your romantic life abroad. Also, many women, I'm going to say this quote. This guy, I always put the caveat is that he's weird. I like watching him because he is weird. He's like a geek. And he says, Andrew Henderson. Many of you, I thought I was like one of the few Black people watching him, but apparently I'm not. But he says, go where you're treated best. Go where you're treated best. Free your mind. Go where you're treated best. If you're treated best in Kenya, if you're treated best in South Africa, in Johannesburg, or what's the other one? They're apparently very different. If you're treated best in Namibia, if you're treated best in France, if you're treated best in Denmark, go where you're treated best. Okay. So, yeah, I think that, let me see if there's anything else I want to add. So, age is not a problem to restarting abroad, I'm going to say specifically, because your age brings wisdom. Your age brings, you've been through so many experiences, okay? As long as you go in, you know, clear, don't do anything you wouldn't do back in your home country, right? Keep your savvy, keep your smarts, keep your wits about you. Again, a great way to get some rest, to like say you're interested in moving to Portugal. You hear so much about Black folks moving to Portugal and loving it, lower cost. And now you're hearing, oh, Portugal's getting expensive. Yes, if you go to Lisbon. Why do you have to live in Lisbon, for example? But if you want to save money to go scout Lisbon, you could do some house sitting, and you could get abroad and then travel around, and then maybe in a low cost country like maybe Croatia or something. I don't know, I'm just throwing that out. Or Albania. You do the Airbnb, and then combine that with some house sitting somewhere, even in the US. You can actually house sit, guys, in the US in beautiful areas. A lot of the house sitting in the United States is in like California, right? Again, you have to think who has money and who loves their pets. So beautiful places, almost like resort kind of areas, very high-end areas, lots of parts of New York City, right? Where there are high-income people who love their pets. When they go away, they don't want to lock their pet up in some, with other animals. They're like, I want my pet to stay in my apartment, and I'd rather somebody come in and stay in my apartment. Everything's kept safe, and my doggy is able to have his walks by Central Park. Okay, he likes to walk around Central Park by the reservoir, and I don't want his routine to change. Okay, I'm being funny, but it's true, right? Or they're out in California, maybe they're in a beach town, and they're like, my dog likes to walk by the ocean. That's what my dog is going to get. Okay, so don't think you can house sit in the US, absolutely. Places like Colorado, places that, like I said, have very nice areas and people with high income. Let me see if I can get the Trusted House Sitters link for you guys. I should have it all pulled up, but let me see. Let me get it. Okay. And I do not get money for this. I just get, I think it just adds time. This is what is called an affiliate link. I'm just going to put it in the chat. But any questions? Again, think about if you need a break and you want to travel abroad, these two methods that I'm saying, combining house sitting with smart use of Airbnb, you can travel for a month or 2 months. You could house sit for a month, and then you've saved money. You've saved $1,000, right? Because you didn't pay rent. Then you might take that and go to Greece for 3 weeks. Do you see how that can you can combine these 2 methods? So I put the link in there, but I'm gonna put it below the video, and sorry guys, something is in my eye, maybe an eyelash. When I was younger and had very long eyelashes, my eyelashes would often get in my eye a lot. Do you know as you get older, it seems like your eyelashes get shorter? I've noticed that. So yeah, any questions, comments, you have to type them in the chat. And again, replay folks, I really want to know what you think. So again, this is for people who are you've worked, you have some savings, or you're retired. Again, it's not if you have absolutely no money, you could house sit locally because it basically provides free housing. But that's not really who I'm speaking to because that would be more of an emergency case. I'm talking about if you are wanting a break, a sabbatical, maybe you want to work on some poetry or you're writing a book or you want to figure out your next move, you want to figure out like I said, do you want to move to Portugal? Do you want to expat and retire to France? Do you want to move to the UK? Or, you've always been interested in something about the British and you want to travel to the UK or so there are many, many countries where you can combine. Maybe you want to see the Netherlands. So you can look and see if there's house sitting in the Netherlands, in France or in Spain. But yeah, questions? I'm going to leave it at that. I think that just to tell you, you can reinvent yourself abroad. It doesn't have to be this big permanent thing also. That's another thing. So it doesn't have to be like, oh my God, I sold all my stuff. No, like I said, I sold those that I could sell, which was not a lot. I sold some things, a few things are stored, all right? But I had to get rid of a lot. So if you want to restart your life and maybe by moving abroad, it it takes longer than you think, especially if you're attached to your stuff. Maybe that's a separate video. But again, this is for your mental health, for your emotional health. If you need a break and you want a place where you can kind of vacation and rest at a lower cost and a more relaxed pace, consider slow travel again for your mental health, for your emotional well being. All right. If you're interested, you also could book a call with me. But as I said, I have this masterclass that explains this whole specifically what to do step by step. So you could be abroad, be traveling and living abroad for 3 to 6 months as a tourist and getting your rest, maybe doing some sightseeing, saving some money, and then figure out your next move. So that's it. I think that's all I wanted to share. And, have a happy, happy new year. I can tell folks have watched, some people drop in, drop out. If you don't have any questions or anything, then this maybe isn't for you. If you have no questions, if this is totally new to you and you think of questions, because I love it when you ask questions. I do. So yes, I'd love your questions, your comments. So put them in the comments after the video is over. And yeah, I think I'll end it there. So happy New Year. Blessings, blessings, blessings. I will be focusing a lot on wellness, holistic wellness, and tapping, which is the word that most of you know for energizing the meridians in the body, right? Which is a way of self-healing. So I'll be doing more of that. I'll be doing a little bit more different meditations, different breathing practices. Um, Health and wellness and woo-woo. So wellness and woo-woo I will continue to do. All right, so you two folks who were lurking but have no comments, you might have been driving. I know one regular student of mine, and she's taken a lot of courses. Actually, another lady I'm thinking of sometimes tunes in when she's driving. And also you may be with your kids, and so you can't stop and type. So I totally get that. I totally get that. So yes, I'm feeling good and just wishing you well. I'm going to relax. I'm going to go to bed a little bit early, I think, rather than staying up. I might watch do I want to watch the ball drop in New York? After certain after decades, it kinda gets a little tired. I think I like the self-care idea of going to sleep early and just getting snug as a bug in a rug. Is that what they say? Snug as a bug in a rug? Okay, but not like that. Um, yeah, I think that's it. So love and blessings. Talk to you soon. Mwah. Bye.